The purpose of my today's presentation is to help you all with the learnings, tricks, and information which I've gathered so that your journey becomes a bit more smoother than mine. So, the title of my today's presentation is Router's Journey, the story of sweat, a lot of it, dreams, still have a lot of it, and interoperability. So, before I start dwelling into router, what we do, and how we got here, I would like to thank Devfolio and Polygon for inviting us here. Well, router was actually found with a very small grant from Polygon, and it was a $10,000 grant which helped us bootstrap our legal operations because we wanted to register firm and get some legal opinions for listings. And that $10,000 grant actually went a long way to make a project which is almost sitting at 100 million valuation today. Polygon CEO Sandeep also participated in the seed round of router, and later Polygon Foundation also invested in our follow-on fundraise in October. Our fundraise status is that we started in December 2020 and we closed the seed round in January 2021. We The round did not had any kind of institutional participation, and we raised a small sum of $480,000 from a group of angels and DeFi heavyweights who were actually quite active in the industry. But the round had absolutely no institutional participation. Later, we raised $4.1 million from a group of marquee investors in December 2021, which was almost 1 year after we started. But the point I would like to highlight here is that small rounds are great if they help you get started. Don't buy into the narrative that you need to start with millions of fundraise to actually start building the product and delivering. You need just enough to get started, and later on the rounds will figure out on their own. Later on, like when you build the product, it start getting attraction, attention, you will be able to raise follow-on rounds. You can't delay your journey just because you are not able to raise a multi-million round in the seed stage itself. The follow-on round which we raised for router had some active participation from large ventures. We saw participation from Coinbase Ventures, Alameda Research, which runs FTX Exchange, Woodstock, DeFi Capital, Polygon, Algorand, Shima Capital, Bison Fund, Wintermute, which is one of the largest market makers, Maple Block, and Terra Foundation also gave us a grant, and but it's not in a good position now. Just to connect, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. I am Priyeshu. I started my journey very early when I was still a teenager in high school, and I started with digital marketing. I used to consult companies, small companies, large companies. Well, to my honor, I had Tata Steel as my client when I was in class 10th. And I was used to do social media marketing, SEO, pay-per-click advertising before they were mainstream. And then I did my bachelor's in computer science engineering, and I was a software engineer at Ola. I remember my induction of Ola happened 5 years ago at the Paul, Bangalore, and I was at that side of the podium, and today glad to be on the other side. The induction went on for almost 2 weeks. My office used to be in the front in the EGL, and I used to walk from there to here. But I left Ola to pursue blockchain research, do some trading, build some smart contracts, and explore the industry. I left without a plan. I didn't have a plan, but I was fascinated by the industry, and I knew that there's no turning back. And then we built router protocol and Define. Define is still there, and it used to be a top exchange on Polygon. Now I think it's second or third. At its peak, it had almost 300 or 400 million in TVL. The most I would like to emphasize on the part that the most learning related to the builder or building I had when I actually started using the products and not just reading about them. Like reading helps you to some extent, but you need to load that MetaMask wallet. You need to load all those wallets and actually start reading products. You need to start doing those transactions, and especially with the advent of too many layer 2s, layer 3s, it's so much cheaper to do it. I used to face a lot of struggle. Like I used to collect money like $1,000, maybe $1,500 per month just to fund my Ethereum gas fees. But it's no longer the case because now you can do almost same kind of transactions on Polygon, and there's no reason for anyone who wants to build, and they should not be using the products. And actually using these products can be rewarding as well, because typically a lot of these protocols and projects give you airdrops for trying the products. So far in my journey and actually using the products, I have received over $100,000 in airdrops. So it is a very rewarding and learning experience. So let's get to the basics, and I would like to cover here two things, in as in what you need to build a Web3 startup which will perform well. Well, if anyone asks me, my answer is two things. One is a good team, and the second is to know what problem to solve, and that is your vision slash idea. A lot of people tell you like build a good team and get a great team, but less is emphasized on how to actually do it. And so the purpose of this slide is to serve some anecdotal references on importance of going out and networking. I feel that you guys are already doing well since you are all here and networking and meeting interesting people. So the router team has four co-founders, and I'll share how they met and like how they connected. Ram is the CEO and he's the one who connected the entire team. Shubham was a colleague of Ram in his previous company. And then we've got Chandan. Ram and Chandan met in a conference and later ran into some acquisition deal which didn't materialize. And then they started work together. And Ram met Priyeshu, that's me, by a common friend, which we met in a blockchain summit at Hyderabad. Now, all of these details are not very important. What is important is that you need to step out, network, attend conferences, publish your work. After all, it's a proof of work industry. People are watching you, they see who is contributing what. Do a lot of contributions in open source, do write articles if you can, and like get active on platforms like Twitter so that the industry can get a beat of what you do and what you are trying to achieve. And try to make a team with complementary skills. Being a marketer alone is not enough, being a techie alone is not enough. You need actually both. And try to build a team which, at least your core team should have the fundamental skills you need to scale and build the project. And later on you can obviously hire people too. So a lot of people ask me, why did we build router, like how did we figure out that router was the product to build. So as I mentioned that we were building DeFi exchange on Polygon, and but we realized that it had its own large limitation. The deposits and the deposits were still okay, but the withdrawals used to take hours. I think they still take a lot of time. So that is why we realized that we need to make a solution where the transactions can be processed much faster. How about we reduce that hours requirement to minutes? Can we do it? Of course we can. So we hypothesize router will be a cross-chain liquidity primitive, allowing liquidity to move between different chains. And that was a time when we were seeing a like a distribution of liquidity across different chains. If you see this graph, in October, like the green color is Ethereum. So if you see the graph in October, Ethereum had almost 95% of the TVL, and by August 2022, it has like 55% of the TVL. So this is this new layer ones and layer twos which are eating which are eating Ethereum's TVL. One of them is Polygon, of course. And the point here is that you have to see the problem in advance. Like we didn't see the problem in August 2022. We saw the problem in October 2020 when it was a trend was just starting. When Ethereum was at 95% TVL, we figured out that it's going to 50. So you have to think at least 2 years ahead, because building a product will take maybe 2 years or 3 years of your time. It does not happen overnight. And you have to ensure that the product which you start building today will be relevant 3 years down the line. So for that, trend spotting is very important. In truest of senses, we venture to solve a problem that we faced. We wanted faster withdrawals and deposits, and that's what we built. Router's mainnet was launched in January 2022. It's a typo, please ignore. It was launched in 2022. And so far it has processed over 400 million in transaction volume with just 500 million in TVL. It goes on to show the shortcomings of shallow industry perception, which over indexes on markers like TVL, which at best is a vanity metric for bridges. And I would also argue that it exposes the cross-chain bridges to a honeypot problem. In fact, in morning only, a bridge got hacked called Nomad, and over $160 million were drained from it. The bridges don't need such high TVLs to function, and especially not at this stage when the tech is at very early stage and it's just maturing. It has started to mature. It will take another couple of years for cross-chain bridges to mature. But then we realized that just building a cross-chain liquidity primitive is not enough. And the blockchain are like isolated silos which do not have a way to communicate with each other. When the TVL was getting fragmented across different chains, we realized that it's not just liquidity which will need to be communicable across different chains, but there also has to be a way to send messages and instructions across different chains. Now I would also like to diverge a little and talk about the security strategy at Router. I think it will be helpful when you all are building your products. Auditing industry in its current form is not good. Like, projects have to bear a lot of cost for auditing. Audit of large product can cost over $250,000, and even in that case auditors bear no responsibility at all. So we run a $250,000 bug bounty at a platform called Immunify, and the results are really good. We have got many critical bugs reports from there, and we have spent less than 100,000 there so far, and the results have been much better than spending $500,000 in various audits. And we also maintain close relationships with independent security researchers who review our code. The project is only 6 months old and we call it a beta launch so far. So, and as a result, the entire TVL is provided by the team. So we are going to this extent that we are risking our own money to protect users' money till we are very sure about the security. So I was telling about that we needed a way so that we can, like give community a way to build on top of Router. So we built a solution called Crosstalk. Think of it as like interoperability in a box. Developing Router's tech took us tens of thousands of lines of code, but Crosstalk is like us doing the abstraction and letting users or developers build interoperable products with just 50 lines of code. Crosstalk allows developers like yourselves to build use cases like cross-chain NFTs, games, DAOs. We also have built some useful developer toolings which help developers do cross-chain activities, like say iframe, which can easily import it in your website in 5 minutes, and it can do a cross-chain swap and a cross-chain swap API. And we offer a npm module which can be easily imported for doing cross-chain transactions. So here are some ideas which of cross-chain dApps which can be built with Router or any other cross-chain product if you prefer. But what I want to highlight here is that everything which can exist on one chain can actually leverage the multi-chain framework now, because of the proliferation of the TVL and users across different chains. The products would want to leverage all the community and all the TVL, not just one community, one TVL. So some examples here are a cross-chain stablecoin, a cross-chain lending platform, a cross-chain token launch platform, a cross-chain yield optimizer, cross-chain leverage protocol, cross-chain DEX, cross-chain NFT platform, cross-chain game, cross-chain derivatives, cross-chain privacy toolings like say a cross-chain tornado. So this is how our bridge explorer looks like any other blockchain explorer. We have built our bridge explorer which tracks how many transactions are happening, where the transactions are going from, where the transactions are going to, what is the status of those transactions, some basic stuff like that. This is our main app. It's called Voyager. It does support cross-chain swaps. You can swap any ERC20 to any ERC20 between any of the supported networks. Anyone is welcome to build on top of Router protocol. We help with documentation and anything which the users need for building it, be it the SDK, crosstalk, or any swapping widget. And the goal for us is now for the next year is to build the most decentralized and secure bridge, and while also developing an ecosystem where the developers can come in and leverage our cross-chain tech. And now I'll be opening the floor for questions.
So I was wondering how the architecture works. Like, is Router like a blockchain between blockchains, or do you use like a light node contract on every chain?
So at this point, I would say that we are transitioning to blockchain architecture, wherein a blockchain will sit between different chains, and the goal is to decentralize the bridge blockchain enough to make it as secure as any other layer 1 and layer 2. But at this point we have a relayer validator network which has like clients which listen to the transaction on the source chain and then they validate it on the destination chain. And as far as the asset transfers are concerned, we maintain USDC reserves on all the chains we support. And then we are able to release USDC on the destination chain when they are submitted on the source chain.
Got it. And is Crosstalk live? Like, can I use Crosstalk right now for
Yes,
like DR?
Crosstalk is live and the documentation link is here. It's called dev.routerprotocol.com.
That's awesome. Just one last question. So you said trend spotting is very important, right? What trends do you see in the future, like with respect to omni-chain?
So with respect to omnichain, I think that there would be a lot of need for products which are able to leverage different chains liquidity. For example, say if you want to do a large swap, why do you want to only do it on Ethereum? Why not like spread it on different chains? Like say 50% of the swap is going to Ethereum, 20% is going through Avalanche, 10% is going through BSC, so that it is able to kill the arbitrage and offer the best prices. And any other use case wherein you want to leverage the communities of different chains, because for me, like as I see it, blockchains are like different cities. Say New York, say New Delhi, say Mumbai. Every city attracts a different kind of users. But then if you think of web 2 products like Google, they are able to serve the users of all the cities. So I think that the futuristic blockchain products will be able to serve the users of all the blockchains, and the experience will be seamless and they won't even feel like that they are using a different blockchain. It will be abstracted to that. And one good example I like to use in this regard is a travel OTC aggregator like Make My Trip. When you book a ticket, it goes through like tens of operators, tens of OTC providers, airlines, etc. But all of that information is abstracted from the user, and all they do is just get a quote and they book the ticket. So this is the kind of experience I see blockchain users getting 10 years down the line.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's like no one cares where the data is. Data is on cloud. No one knows if it's on AWS or Google Cloud.
I actually have a related question. So, you said that spotting trends before they happen is important. What are some things that people can do to get better at this? You mentioned using like Web3 a lot. What else can we do to stay
So
ahead of it?
using Web3 a lot can help you identify like the friction points in using the products, like what is working, what is not working, how you can improve it. But when it comes to say trend spotting, you need to like start building your own thesis and start building some charts. Dune Analytics is a good place to start spotting some trends, because they have a lot of community source dashboards where you can see what kind of activity is picking up, what kind of activity is not picking up. And then having a fundamental thesis is very important, as in you should be able to see how the markets are going to converge. For that I suggest a lot of reading as well. Reading good sources like Mesari can help you with the building the fundamental thesis side of things. And then you also have to build a data thesis side of things. And then the trends are usually visible if you like look close enough. Like get into any industry and you'll be able to see the trends. For example, if you dive into the privacy side of things, you'll be able to see what all is happening, how they're like planning to use zero knowledge, and how they are actually trying to make assets from any user to any user transfer. But then you also see problems like how the lot of centralized exchanges are now limiting the users who are using Tornado Cash. And then you start thinking about how you can solve those problems in the long term.
That makes sense. Is reading research papers or reading the latest innovations in the space, is that also a good way
Yeah,
of?
that is definitely important, but that is not all you have to do. That I would say that would contribute to maybe like 30-40% of your work.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of people get lost in just reading stuff, but I repeat that that is not enough. So, ending notes would be that it was great interacting with you all. And I hope that all of you emerge as powerful Web3 builders in the next couple of years. And if you need any support, like feel free to reach out. I'm reachable and always helping out new folks start, and happy to work with you all.